Warrior Mindset Podcast. We are your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Well, I have some news.
Yes?
We are kind of sponsored by Jocko now.
Well, kind of congratulations.
Like for real.
Yeah.
Yep. I applied for the affiliate thing, and they don't just let anybody be an affiliate.
Well, that's good.
So there you go. So
yeah, but what you told me is the reason I can't have one is because
somebody has stolen my
They're like, that's good. I'm gonna take
Pink Miss Jocko drink.
That one was good.
From the refrigerator.
Can I have a sip?
What's funny is who else here has Jocko drinks? How is it confusing?
Absolutely no.
How is it confusing that might not be mine? So whoever stole it specifically knew it was mine.
Was it right next to all the beer?
It's right next to the other Jocko drink. Anyway,
Jocko and Jocko.
There's a link in the post here. Go get something. Give me some credits.
All right, cool. So you want to talk about something today?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
What you got?
Huh? I believe you're your own worst enemy.
You believe I am your worst enemy?
No. Wait.
You are
your own worst enemy. I'm your own worst enemy. Yeah.
I made a post on Facebook and I asked that. Are you your own worst enemy? And like everyone wrote yes. So one guy wrote Doug, and I don't know who Doug is, but
sorry, Doug.
Apparently Doug is that guy's enemy. So I thought it was funny that I posted that, and pretty much everybody's like, yeah, I get in my own way constantly.
Yeah. Well, even when we came in here, I said yes as I was walking in as well. So
if you have at least the least little bit of humbleness, you will say yes.
Yeah.
You don't need
you don't need to blame Doug.
Yeah.
So walk me through it a little bit.
Have you ever gotten in your own way?
Today or this hour or I actually
all time.
All time for sure. I mean, like an hour and a half ago, I missed a major meeting that I should have been at and leading.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Huh? Well, I was trying to work through some things with another piece of my leadership team to actually work out things for that particular event. And while working on that, I just missed whatever,
derp.
Yeah. So I totally am in my way apparently at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, yes, in the last 2 hours, I have done
That's
that
what
to
those
myself.
little like alerts that you're late for something are for.
I hate those things.
Yeah. Did you miss the whole meeting?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But the good thing is
oh yeah.
Oh bad. But the good thing is like I have like the greatest people that work for me. Because like I sent one of them a message and it's 7:00 in Belfast right now. And said, hey, did I miss this meeting?
Yeah, you did.
And she's like, it's okay. I took notes and we went through it. And I'm like, yes.
Well,
you were awesome.
What happens when you realize you're not needed? Is that good or bad?
It's awesome. It's awesome. The less that I have to be involved with logistic conversations, then that means that somewhere along the way I've done the right thing.
You delegated properly.
Yeah. Woo. No, not only delegated but hired properly. So, I think some of the things that going through your article, that eventually come back to if you try to solution to some of them, come to whether it's work based, it should come back to processes and people,
right. Sure,
that you set up in order so that when you do screw your own self up, that
your team backs you up.
Exactly.
Hopefully, you've done the work to be a good team leader or a team member.
And
so I posted that, and it was a while ago when I posted that, but I finally finished the article.
Yeah.
So yeah, overwhelmingly it was yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just made a lot of assumptions, which is probably one of the other ways you get in your own way. But
yeah,
let's go through some of the ones that I was thinking about, and you might have your own to add to the list, maybe.
sure.
If you're listening and you have some, there's a little question thing there, and you can send me one. It'd be cool to get that. You have unmanaged expectations.
Explain.
I'm not saying that you do.
Yes.
But I'm saying you do. I've seen this towards me. I've probably done it towards other people, where someone will have expectations of how you're going to perform, like for a client.
Yeah.
But you weren't aware of what they thought that you should be doing, and you didn't do those things that you didn't know you needed to do, and then apparently you were bad because you didn't do them.
Sure.
But it's like professional, but it's also in relationships too with other people, right? Where, you're like, this, like they never do this, they never reciprocate, or they never whatever, but you never communicated that.
That's true. That you want.
So how do they supposed to know?
You want that reciprocation.
That it bothers you.
Yeah.
Or it's simply something bothers you. Like you never like voice it.
Yeah.
It seems simple.
No, but
how many times do we do that?
Well, I think, even in the past 24 hours, like communication in my world and my family's world has been, apparently not with each other, but outside, has been incredibly challenging. And the managing the expectations, like managing the expectations should be about communication. I think it should be about communication.
So. Yeah, I think so.
Either the expectations that you have for yourself, so you start there, and the how you communicate to yourself. And if you're saying, listen to some, I've been listening to new podcasts lately, and some of them have been,
how dare you?
I know exactly. I love listening to my own voice and yours, apparently.
As long as it's mine.
Okay. Not only some of the ones that we both listen to, but I've been listening to some marketing ones, but then one that I think is called Nudge, that talks about a lot of psychology within marketing, but then it goes further than that. And trying to think of how that associates with what the hell we're talking about. But I think some of the things that they were talking about in that particular episode was, I don't know, just the communications with yourself.
Communicate with yourself?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to communicate with yourself. You have to.
I said to myself, self. You should tell people what you expect.
Exactly. But you should tell having certain expectations upon yourself, and
right.
Versus, I think it's going back to like goals and things like that. That if you have an expectation that you're going to be 1,000%, well, guess what? You can't.
Right. It can only be 100%.
Exactly. It's that type of thing. So if I'm one of those people that, we've said before in goal planning that, like, I set the bar at 150%, knowing that my goal is actually 100%. But if you really set that bar at 150%, and this was, I was thinking about, kids and things like that are still trying to, figure out themselves. But I'm 48, almost 49, and I understand I've made that barter with myself. Yeah. That I can push myself, but at the same point, like, I'm not going to totally be pissed off with myself because I don't hit, this unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
So, because my expectation is technically less, it's a mind game that I play with myself.
I see people in the gym that do that all the time. They're like upset with their performance, and I'm like, well, what was your plan here? And they didn't have one, and I'm like, well, why? What are you upset about?
Right. That's a whole nother thing. Like I set it 150% to get to 100. Yeah, but if you don't set anything, then how can you measure against it in the first place?
You just made it up after you finished.
Right.
Like,
so
what is that?
So your expectations are, totally blown out of the water either way at
Yeah.
that point. But I think that, that's the self-talk that you have with yourself and the negotiations you have with yourself is, I guess, what I was getting to there.
I think so.
Then the other communication with your clients, with, your students, with, other people in general, relationships, professional or personal, it comes down to, like you said, communication, telling people what you want, what you expect, and then understanding what they expect from you. Because if you can't do that, then, somebody's always going to be upset.
I've even had clients that are like, I'm like, when do you need this done by? And they're like, man, I don't know. And then like a couple weeks go by and they're like, you're late. And I'm like, late for what? Like,
But what a project manager,
you decided
right?
Like, after we started.
What a good project manager should do at that point is say, okay, you may not, but we're going to put an artificial deadline on it so that, there is an expectation.
It's called CYA, my friends.
Well, yeah, but it's also like again, it's a measurement that if you don't know what the measurement is, then how can you get to there? And then, then you have unmanaged expectations and then everything falls down.
And you also don't do any work until the deadline is coming anyway.
Well, that's a given.
All right. Your ego is getting in the way.
Not mine, motherfucker. Sorry. Cough.
Yeah, so you may be waiting for a life-changing event or idea to motivate you to take action. You may be waiting for someone to rescue you waiting for the perfect opportunity.
Is that your ego getting in the way then?
I think yes.
Okay.
Because
that's what I wrote.
If you
but explain that.
If you never start, if you create reasons why you shouldn't do something, you're sort of trying to protect yourself from failure.
Okay, so you're protecting your ego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or whatever the Freudian, is it the super ego?
Or protect the id.
Ego, the id, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not a psychology class, but whatever that is.
Fact check that.
Yeah, we're not psychiatrists. Yeah, I mean, how many people do you know that, like, I got this one dude I talked to, he really wants to open a like a food truck sort of a situation. And like I talked to him like 8 months ago and he was like, yeah, and I was like, man, that's a great idea. You're really good at that. And then I talked to him like just recently and he was like, I'm still working on getting my LLC together. I'm like, that takes like an hour.
Oh, yeah. That's a check in a form.
Like that's not even that's a reason why you haven't done it.
I'm sure it's gone up in price, but it used to be like 100 in South Carolina. It used to be $115 and a form, and it's rubber stamped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just, and I talked, and it was like all these reasons why he hasn't started yet and stuff. And it was like, well, you don't like. It feels like you don't want to do it because you don't want to like fail at it.
Yeah.
Like you're afraid that no one will buy your food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what is that? Like, what is that failure to start before it even happens? I
was teaching an international business class long time ago. And I went around the room to my students on the very first night and I was like, introduce yourself and, tell us a little bit about yourself. And then, if you think, I don't know how we got into it, but if you think you want to start a business or why are you doing this? It was like, why are you in this class? Why are you doing this program? And every single one of them said, I want to start my own business.
Right.
And then I stopped as we finished around the room and went back around the room and I was like, well, have you started it? And we went to everyone and like every single one of them. Well, no, because my kids are still in school. No, because blah 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 blah. No, because and no, because it's hard.
Yeah.
Yes and no. And there was an excuse for every single one of them of why they hadn't started already. Well, when I get my degree, then I'm going to start. And something I said to somebody recently was like, actually, it was somebody it was a founder of a business who just got their seed funding from a very large tech company this past Sunday. And he was thrilled about it.
Celebration.
Yeah. And I was like, man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you did the thing that, I've been trying
Right.
to,
Most people
teach.
don't.
Yeah, exactly. And, he had a great job at a very big tech company. And he is just like, man, I got to do this thing myself. And he went and did it.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's hard. It is a hard thing to do
Yeah.
and get started and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And I get it. But yeah, if you're protecting your ego, if you're protecting, and maybe that is it. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm a failure because I tried to do this thing. Well, if we had more failures out there, then we'd
Yeah.
have more successes.
Right. Well, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that you're short circuiting your success before you even start.
Exactly.
Because you're not starting.
Yeah. You're overthinking it. You're afraid of getting hurt. And, I get that, and there are definitely things that, like, I still have something that I've been trying to get started for 2 years, and I have definitely made the excuses of, why I haven't done it.
Yep.
So
It's your ego, bro.
yeah.
It's a little dirty liar.
You sit on the throne of lies yourself.
Yes.
So-
For sure.
This is going to be a good podcast.
For
Let me
sure.
tell you, we're just.
For sure. You take things for granted. That's a good way to be your own worst enemy.
Is that more than just teenagers?
Well, think about it. I mean, yeah. I mean, your kids expect certain things to be there.
Yeah.
We do the same thing as adults in other people.
True.
I mean, you got that one person in your life that you just always expect to be there. Right.
Yep.
Do you reciprocate? Like truly, like think about it. Do you really are you there for that person? You know what I mean? Like, and that can't be like an exhaustive list of people of like 200 people. There's probably a certain amount of people that you can truly be there for.
It's less than 5.
Yeah. I was going to say 5, but it's probably less than 5. But I mean, like, are you taking them for granted?
Right.
There
are 5 people in my family. It's less than 5.
Well, for real.
Yeah. No, and
how about ever being on the other side of that and how much that sucks?
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts, right? It feels bad.
It does. And I go back to like, I say 5. If you have a family of 7, then
7. I don't know.
Choose the right ones.
I don't know. If you have that many kids, at some point you just stop.
I just gave up. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
That 4th kid's raising itself.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. I told you, our youngest child, her famous line is, "I'm okay."
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still here.
I'm still behind you.
I'm still here. I'm not dead yet. But I think too that, like, are you taking things for granted? Like those people that you take for granted, that they're just going to.
It doesn't have to just be people.
But but also, like, I continue to go back to, like, if you don't help yourself, you can't help others. So if you take yourself for granted and you don't take care of yourself,
how many times do you see that with people?
You always hear about the people that will do everything for everybody else, but they won't do something for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And and they're just givers, and they don't want to be a taker, because that would be no. Sometimes you have to take a little bit back, and especially if it's for yourself, to have that mental space
to recharge, man. It's important.
Exactly. So don't take yourself for granted. Don't take other people for granted. And I would also say, how many times has a total stranger actually just not even like helped you out in a major way, but even helped you out in, like, just like, a sentence.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Like, don't take people for granted just because they don't look like you.
Yeah.
They don't act, they don't live in the same world that you do.
100%.
That, some of our greatest teachers, I think, are people that we least expect them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so my kids always wonder. They used to go, "You just talk to everybody."
Mm-hmm.
But recently, some of them have seen that people just come up to me and start talking.
Right.
And they're like, and I looked at them afterwards, and I said, "You saw that I did not.
I didn't say anything.
I didn't say a word. They just came up to me, like," and they're like, "Yeah, you apparently have that, something in you that people are just I don't want to say drawn to, but people just go, oh yeah, like I can talk to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're crazy people.
Well, of course.
Yeah. But sometimes it's just like, like, I mean, sometimes, like if I have this particular hat on, then it does invite, some things.
Sure.
But even without that, like I was at a gym meet and somebody came up and he's like, yeah, starts talking to me. I'm like, why? I'm like, oh yeah, I had the hat on, and we were talking about army things.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, again, like with the kids, they're just like, oh yeah, they're just actually coming up to you and just talking and and like, yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes those small interactions are the ones that, like maybe it wasn't something that taught me at that point, but maybe it taught my kid. Like, yeah, sometimes you just, like, just
It happens.
be open, and you never know. Like, the
Mhm.
world starts to open up for you the more that you're open as well.
Yep. It is a small world too.
Yeah.
That's important to remember. I mean, can't be all standoffish all the time.
And yes, exactly. There are definitely times where I want to.
Well, then you can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do that. I mean, a good counter to that, if you are thinking about things and you're like, wow, I take this person for granted. Like, a good counter to that is to start a practice of, and I know it sounds trendy, Instagrammy, but a practice of gratitude towards that person or that thing or that situation. And just spend time thinking about, man, I'm kind of lucky that this person's in my life. You know what I mean? Or I'm kind of lucky that I have the job that I do. And then you can sort of focus on taking care of those things. Like, and I'm not talking about like spending hours and hours. I mean, it's little things, just, stop taking it for granted is enough. But sometimes I have to kind of check myself on certain people and realize, wow, I'm kind of just expecting that they're going to do this thing. And I haven't even talked to them in a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, meh.
That's true. Well, two things. One, or three things. One, I hate Instagram. I hate all social media. That's really going well for my marketing career.
Yeah.
But and that's why I hire the right people.
You don't have to do it.
No, you don't. But two, I think I've told you before, like in the Whoop app, like one of the things that it asks for your daily diary is, did you express gratitude or journal gratitude or something like that?
I thought that was interesting. You pointed that out and then I noticed it, but
yeah. And then three, I take a minute and a half every single night before I go to bed.
Yeah, you have your prayer thing.
I'm grateful, and grateful for my life and, Melanie Vance, Lily Page, my mom, dad, and then I get into the I'm grateful to be happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, and free. I hope everybody is type thing.
Remind me, do you do that before bed?
Yeah.
Do you do it when you get up too?
I am not that good in the morning sometimes of doing that. There are some days where I wake up and I don't do that. I don't pull in everybody.
Why do you do it before bed?
It's a reminder to myself of what I had, no matter how angry I am when I go to sleep or happy I am when I go to sleep. I do it every single night, and I've missed 2 days in 5-6 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was drunk. I still try to do it then too. But I do it no matter what my mental state is, because it always resets my mental state before I go to bed. And I think that I sleep almost better because of it. Yeah.
I just did a show with someone. We talked about little rituals like that.
Yeah.
To kind of help. He was talking about he brings a lot of stress home.
Yeah. Sure.
And it affects his, relationship with his wife and stuff like that. And he started a little gratitude practice where he'll, like, before he goes in his house, he will
That's smart.
just spend a minute.
That's smart.
And kind of say to himself, all right, I have a minute to leave all of this negativity in the car.
Yeah.
I can't, or wherever, like, I can't bring it in the house. And he's been practicing it for a while, and it kind of helps.
Yeah.
And I was just curious. I know you were using that mantra. I mean, you've developed it yourself over time.
Right. But I've also said it through gritted teeth so many times over the past 5 or 6 years.
Interesting.
Whatever it is, that, like, I mean, I could be, upset with myself, upset with work, upset with, having, having to fight with my wife or being pissed off at my kids, parents, whatever, like, or like something really, really bad has happened that day. All those things are not really, really bad compared to the things that could happen.
Oh yeah. By far, man.
I still, still try to do that every single time because.
Well, it's sort of like if you're looking for problems, you'll find them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of people do that in their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something bad starts happening and it cascades, and then like you find fault in this person.
Yeah.
Like no matter what they do.
Yeah.
You're like, they can't be that bad. Like you married them, or like you're living with them, or like your friends. Like they're not that bad, but you're finding every single bad thing.
Even with work colleagues and
and
whomever is out there.
You got to focus on the positive things.
And listen, nobody's gonna be perfect, and neither are you.
Well, yeah,
but even when I've had that, with colleagues, here and in the past and everything, that I've definitely been better about it, in the past few years. But if you don't, then you will continue down a path to where things will spiral down, and it would and let me tell you, unless they work for you or unless you're willing to leave, guess what? For the most part, it's not going to get better by itself.
It's a dark place.
Yeah. So if you don't do something, about it for yourself, you go, okay, how can I do this differently? Then, you're screwing yourself up.
Yeah.
And you are self-sabotaging yourself.
You got to pull yourself out.
Even if it's the other person's fault.
I think, yeah. You can't control the other person, but you can control what thoughts you feed yourself,
and control your reactions. And 100%. That's the only thing you have control of in life.
I love it. You are your own worst critic.
Yep.
The first thing was like, that was like most of the responses, by the way. I wonder if I could go back and find the screenshot of all the, anyway. Mm-hmm. How was your own self-talk? What do you say to yourself when you're trying something new?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, I'm willing to bet you say things to yourself that if someone else said them to you, you would punch them in the face.
True. I can get away with that, but you can't.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be able to get away with that. And that's, I think, the point of this is you should not be able to get away with, calling yourself a screw up and calling yourself, you're such a fuck up and well, guess what? Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. Whatever you tell yourself, you are always going to be right.
You're going to manifest that shit into the world.
Exactly.
It's going to happen.
Into your world.
Yeah.
Into your world.
Yeah.
And that's the worst part of it.
It sucks.
Now, there's the other side of it that, my shit smells like roses and I am the perfect human being. And, that's when you're talking about ego.
Earlier, I realize that's where you're going with it.
But, like, so
it's more like
be careful.
Arrogance.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't put the obvious one of like, you're an arrogant bastard as like number one on here. You're going to get in your own way a lot with that.
Yeah.
And you're not even going to know it because
Yeah.
people are just going to be like, F you. I'm not even going to talk to you. Right. And that's, you're like,
Exactly.
wow, I used to have more friends than I have now.
I don't know why.
Yeah. What is that thing like? You ask somebody like, hey, you know how of all your friends, you always have that one friend that's an asshole?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, I don't have a friend that's an asshole. Guess what?
Exactly.
You're the asshole in the group of friends. That's how you can tell. But yeah, so but to the point, you're your own worst critic. I mean, I know a lot of people that kind of talk shit about themselves,
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm sure you have it in like team meetings where like, well, I'll do this, but probably gonna fuck it up. So
yeah,
make sure everybody checks behind me. Like, what the fuck? Like, well, then why are you here?
All right.
You suck.
Yeah.
Like, just that presentation of yourself, I think, matters.
Yeah.
For a lot of things.
Well, and that's something too with like the kids that, especially when they, work on either performance-based activities or things like that. It's just like, like, don't drive it into your head that, like you're going to screw up on something, because you will. And when you do, you manifested that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that didn't come from anybody else except for you.
Mm-hmm. You created that problem, Homer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
Don't be hard on yourself. You overanalyze most things.
I used to do that a lot.
Yeah.
I do that less.
Yeah, I know of quite a few people that they just kind of spin on the future, planning, saving, not taking risks or whatever, just because they're worried about fallout from something. And then they spend all their time like planning when it's like, you should probably just pull the trigger, man.
Yeah.
Me and my business partner in our web services company, there's a very, this is one of the things I like about him. I'm not taking him for granted. We have a very interesting dichotomy in that he is very much like that. He will take a month to write a contract or a proposal. Whereas I'm like, can I do this in 30 minutes? Right. Those are two very extreme like approaches to it. I'm not saying, I mean, in a vacuum, we're both probably not very effective. Right. But when we come together and, I'm like, just get it done after, not a month, but like a week of him working on it. And it's pretty good,
Yeah.
But he will plan and worry about contingencies and this and that and this and that. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, it's a website.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to die if this website is like, the shaded blue is a little bit different. We'll just go change it later. Like, and I don't say that to be like arrogant, like I'm very nonchalant about it because it will cost money and time to fix later, but you just can't plan for every contingency.
No.
How does the military deal with that? I from what I understand from people who are in the military, not very well. But there's a difference between like planning for budgetary overages and like people dying.
Sure.
I mean, there's a very different level of care you should probably give something.
I'm not an expert here, but what I would say is,
why are you here if you're not an expert?
Self-sabotaging right now. That I would say that, especially when you continually drill on something and, like you go, you break in, get into it, let's say a trench.
Yeah.
And that, as you go along the trench, you have a way that you clear rooms and things like that along the trench. And it's, you do the same thing
1,000 times.
1,000 times.
Right.
But in that, like in mission planning, there would be like here's how we plan on doing it.
Yeah.
There's also going to be for each, I'm sure, point along the way, some type of contingency plan on, if the Bangalore doesn't go off and doesn't, combat engineers are awesome. Just saying, like they just blow up shit and it's very cool.
Seems like a cool job.
Oh yeah. But if that doesn't go off and doesn't blow up, where you're trying to get into, the trench and the barbed wire and all of them, whatever. Just again, example.
Sure.
Then, and then you're stuck there. What do you do? Like, okay, for each point, there has to be some type of contingency plan to adapt and overcome. But you don't always want to figure that out as you're, in combat and actually working.
That's not a good time.
Yeah. So it's, if you run a scenario, then you might, you run it, the ideal scenario, one way multiple times. Then you come into the, oh shit, something happened.
Yeah.
And, how does that scenario change? And so then you run, multiple variations of it if you have the time.
Yeah.
But you still have that ideal of here's what we want to course correct back to here.
Yeah.
And just like a plane does not fly straight by itself. A pilot is always course correct. It is always
like a boat.
It is always moving one way or another, and then the course correction. If you so
interesting way to
so you're always trying to course correct in order to get back to that ideal scenario, and then and then the last part of it, I think, besides the ideal, the contingency plans, is just falling back on training.
Yeah.
And falling back on your ability, not your innate abilities, but your other abilities that you've created over time. And that's why there's so much repetition in every single
Was
thing.
that Tim Kennedy that said you don't You don't elevate to your expectations. You fall to your training or whatever.
Yeah.
I slaughtered that.
True.
But you get the point.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you're only as good as your training.
Right. And I think that there was,
I'm sure he took it from someone else too, but
well, there was who was the guy that did Atomic Habits? He had
he
had a quote like that as well. So, but the contingencies, as much as you should think about contingency plans, if there's always got to be there's go time. There's got to be a point to where you just
right. We're out here.
If you don't, then you're paralyzed, and the analysis paralysis is a real thing that happens in business. That happens,
analysis paralysis.
That happens in real time. When you get punched in the face, like if you've never been punched in the face, I remember the first time I was punched in the face, I was like totally stunned.
Yeah, but then you realize I didn't die.
Yeah, my nose.
But like the analysis paralysis, those people in those positions, they don't want to get going because they don't want to mess up and get fired.
Yeah,
like they're worried. They're more worried about the outcome of the negative than they are thinking about the results of the positive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, I think you're talking about like training combat scenarios. Like you definitely want the positive to happen. Like you want to kill the enemy. You don't want to be killed by the enemy.
Right.
So it seems like in and of itself, you're going to be focused more on the positive side for the most part. Yep. You know what I mean? It's not like if you don't achieve that objective, they fire you. I mean, if you don't achieve that objective, you get shot or whatever. Right. Like, it's very different. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going on that, but no, I mean, you have to learn from your past, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn from your past. You have to prepare for the future. Don't let it paralyze you.
Well, and that's where worry comes from. When people talk about I'm
anxiety and worry. Oh man,
it's the I'm thinking of 20 different ways that this could not happen.
The overthinker
versus like the 1,000 different ways that it actually could happen.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
Here's another one. You prefer the easy way over the right way.
Yeah. Well.
Taking the path of least resistance can be a smart move some of the time.
Sure.
Right? Efficiency is usually rewarded, right, by success on some level, but you can't put your own comfort ahead of accomplishment.
So chat GTP is bad.
It is bad.
It's my best friend.
I can't tell you how many times we get someone in the gym and that their goal is to lose, 15 pounds in 60 days or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they spend 60 days trying to cheat the program that we write for them.
Yeah.
They're trying to find like in runs and little other things. And it's like, just do the work, man. Like,
I know
it's not hard. Just you got to do the work. But like, what about this thing? I'm like, no, you can't do that thing. Like, just do this. You're 20 days in. Stick to the plan.
Yeah, but the net carbs is what you really have to count.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, but I mean, how many times do you catch yourself doing that with work too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're like, up at 1 a.m. going,
I gotta fix this thing.
Just should have done this earlier.
Right.
Yep.
You can't take the easy way, folks. You gotta do the hard work.
Sometimes.
You value other people's opinions too much, especially about yourself.
I don't. But that's the trick. Like I don't. I there are certain people that I pay attention to their opinions because I do value what they have to say.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like here's one of the reasons I'm not on well, I have an Instagram account, but I don't post anything. Yeah. I don't put anything on Facebook anymore. I just like I do generally like people. It's not true that I don't like people.
You'll talk to anybody. We already established
apparently, that. Yes. But I do care about other people as well. I don't know that I care like anymore. Well, I'll say this too. 15 years of being on stage and then like another 5 or 6 years of doing, movies and commercials and things like that. Like there's a lot of limelight, if you're pretty okay in it, that you can gain, from other people. And then, like that was obviously way before Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
Now it's like, how many likes did I get on something? And like,
Yep. It ain't real.
I
It's not real.
I just
None of that shit's real. It's crazy.
I,
Or how would you take? Why would you give a shit what somebody says from someone you wouldn't take advice from?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or complete strangers. I think social media has really kind of fucked us over, made us like think about that shit more.
Well, it's mental.
I think
it's
it
mental,
is.
and it literally is. Every single like is a dopamine hit.
Well, we can. There's like a 2-hour Huberman, Joe Rogan, Jocko, whatever the other guy's name is, podcast. There's like 12 of them. They talk about that dopamine problem with the handheld computer.
Yeah.
It's just kind of out of control.
Exactly.
All right, let's crank through these. You set unrealistic demands or expectations for yourself.
That goes back to the thing that we said before.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, but I think that we attacked that a different way than you originally did in the article.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then this other one, you need inspiration. Like, right?
Yeah, I know. Like, it's. I think
or motivation. Inspiration or motivation. They're kind of interchangeable, I think.
My wife has always said, when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start on a diet, or start on whatever it is.
Yeah, on this day.
On this day, and she's like, why don't you just do it like actually right now?
Yeah, just start now.
Not even in an hour from now, like right now.
Yeah.
But
just put down the hamburger.
I need to. It needs to be a ceremony.
Yeah.
So that I can.
Right.
One thing can die, so that a new thing can live. Right.
Sure.
My new self.
Sure.
Yeah. But listen, that we have those things. We have graduations from high school, and then we have orientations into college. It's
whatever you need to tell yourself, man.
Exactly. But that's something that human condition. We've set that up to where there are ceremonies of something ending. We have christenings and funerals. Okay.
Right.
It has been set up as something to breathe life into something. Never mind. And then celebrate. We hope. Yeah, I know. Where is it going with the funeral?
I'm not sure.
Celebrate or acknowledge what has come to pass.
Right.
And I see that maybe as the inspiration part of things. Like sometimes you
need something to kick it off with.
Yeah, and because then I can tie it back to. Do you remember how you felt when it was time to do that?
Yeah.
Now, is that the best thing in the world? New Year's resolutions, last a week.
We've done a podcast on that.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
But I can understand the need to celebrate that.
Yeah.
But then, maybe you just maybe you look for the thing that you can celebrate after you finish the goal.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And
the whole thing.
I tell my kids, do the work and then reward yourself, and then do the work and then reward yourself.
I like that.
Yeah. It's that literally is that Pomodoro principle as well, of work for 25 minutes and have 5 minutes of just
Yeah, I know you like that Pomodoro technique.
Yep.
That's cool. I mean, there's a whole workout routine based around that same kind of concept.
Yeah, Tabatas.
Yeah,
do that.
Same concept.
I did Tabatas today.
Did you?
Yeah, and Melanie turns to me and she goes, "Why are we doing this again? And why is it not doing?" Because it's
8 rounds, man.
Well, yeah, no, well, we did it's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and then a second one of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and then you do that one more time, and then then you go into the Tabatas, the 2010s.
Yikes.
But you combine the two things that you did for 30 seconds each time. It's like, why are we combining them? The Tabata,
yeah.
Never mind. Just get up, get down, get up, get
follow
down.
the beat. Follow the beat. Well, yeah, thanks for going through that, man. Yeah, just interesting to put that into the world and see that it is an actual thing that people think about.
No, and I mean, back to the, you're sabotaging your own success.
Yeah.
Just like I'm sabotaging apparently the words that I'm saying, without realizing it.
Yeah.
That is why you have to stop and have reflection.
Oh,
every
right.
once in a while.
Yeah, it's important.
And just know that, you're never going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Other people are not going to be perfect. And, if you accept those two things, then it makes a lot of what you do on a daily basis, you should
make it a lot more zen for sure.
Yeah, but you should give a shit.
Yeah.
You really should give a shit.
Yep.
On the things that matter.
Yep.
But there are some things that
about the people that matter.
Well,
yep.
Yeah, definitely about the people that matter. But then
we could do I know you got a hard stop. We could do a whole show on, a specific person that seemingly doesn't give a shit about other people. That, you know what I mean? Like it just comes off when you're like that, it comes off very arrogant and like nothing matters.
Yeah.
Like you can go too far.
Sure.
I think is where you were getting. You can definitely go too far.
Yeah.
And you just look like you don't give a shit about anything.
Well, and I feel like there are times where I've gone too far. I mean, remember one of my taglines for a certain amount of time was like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it was a tagline.
Yeah. It's like this was my go-to,
I don't give
I don't give a fuck.
I had to gaff or whatever. It's like a patch for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we had that on one of the jackets.
Yes.
We should wear our vests when we do the next show. You still have yours?
Yeah, of course I do.
I still got mine.
All right.
We're gonna wear the vest the next one we do.
Sounds good. I'll just keep it in my car from now on.
I gotta find mine.
Yeah, okay.
I have like 3 or 4 unclaimed ones.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Fuck those guys.
All right. On that note, don't sabotage your own self.
That's right. Don't sabotage me either.
Yeah, and go buy some Jocko drinks and use my code.
Go.
Jocko.
Jocko.
Jocko, go.
Go.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.